Welcome back, everybody. We're going for the next session, which will be Francesco Zizola. He's an Italian photojournalist and a founding member of Noor Photo Agency. Francesco lives in Rome, Italy. He's born in '62, and since 1980s, he has documented the world's major conflicts and their hidden crises, focusing on the social and humanitarian issues that define life in the developing world as well in Western countries. A strong ethical commitment and a distinctive aesthetic eye are specific features of his pictures. As a photojournalist, he has received dozen awards over the years, including 10 awards in the World Press Photo Contest, and he's in the select group of photographers that has won the World Press Photo of the Year. You can see his photo on this wall of fame. In 2003, Henri Cartier-Bresson included one of Francesco's pictures among his 100 favorites. The collection was made into an exhibition, Le Choix de Henri Cartier-Bresson, and a book. He's now at the forefront of visual storytelling beyond photojournalism without leaving it completely. He thinks it now the time to entrust photographic images with the task of activating a process of awareness, not only what the images show, but also the process that images activate in us. In my personal view, and then talk a little bit about art. It's always good to have Italian friends in your life, and I recommend it. He's one of my Italian friends, and I'd like to introduce you Francesco Zizola.
Thank you. Thank you to attend my presentation, first of all. And excuse me for my English, that is not, of course, my native language, but I will try to do my best to let you understand what I'm saying. So, yeah, thanks, Lars, also for the presentation that you generously did for me, about me. This is one of the pictures that maybe most of you remember from my World Press Photo Awards, Picture of the Year. Since then, I had a lot of decades on the field of photojournalism, filling pages of magazines and newspapers all around the world, and covering news and big themes linked to the topic stories that human beings had to live, including disasters and wars and crises. At a certain point, almost 10 years ago, I started to feel that not only because the digital revolution, the digital changes in our area were very consistent, but not only because that I was saying, but also because I had the need to go a little bit more further with the photography language that, in my opinion, can be a perfect tool to try to connect people and realities more than the ones that photography usually do with showing the surface. But anyway, so in 2013, 2014, I had the occasion to cover a story that was a dramatic story about migration in Italy, in the Mediterranean Sea. And that story made me think a lot about our language and our role as photojournalists, as documentary photographers. So I made pictures, and at the same time I start to question myself about which is really now our ability to reach a large public. At that time, newspapers and magazines, papers were going down in sales and numbers. Less mass media were involved with the magazines that traditionally were my environment And so I start to think how use photography to communicate with other tools, with other languages, the contents of my stories. I try to make this work. Let me see if it works. And I did this.
Hello?
Hello, sir.
Hello?
Hello, sir. Please someone help us. Our life is in risk.
Okay. Give me your position.
What is the position, please?
Don't cry. Try to stay calm. No, don't cry, don't cry. Try to stay calm. Give me your position.
314.
314.
Sir?
Hello?
Hello, sir?
We need help! We need help! People are dying!
Okay, no, don't worry, don't worry. I contact my authority for you. Don't worry. Keep calm, okay?
Please, we need them right now! Right now, we need them! The women are dying! The men are dying! Children are dying! Everybody is dying!
How many people are dying?
How many people are dying? Now we have 10 dying! 10!
10. You have
10 are dying now.
10. You have on board 10 people dying people.
Yes! People are dying now!
So this is a short experimental story made with digital tools, was made with the purpose to reach a more wide audience through social networks, digital platforms. And through this experiment, I discovered that photography can really be sometimes more powerful than only a simple picture. And then I discovered other things, that the fact to work on the sea, connect myself to another great passion that I had since when I was a child, that is the sea. And I was, and I still, a scuba diver since when I was kids. And I reconnect that world with the photography. So I started to think in stories that were related at that time with the sea. And even with this picture, I won one prize in the WordPress photo nature section or environmental section issues, and it was the first step on one thing that became very big for me in the follow years. And I did other stories underwater related with the migration. The first on the left is a picture that I shot in Lampedusa, is a southern part of Italy, little small island where a tragedy happened with more than 600 people, including children and women, die in sunk of this boat full of migrants, just 1 mile far from the harbor of Lampedusa. And then again, I went back to this other island called Carloforte in Sardinia, where I met again the tuna fishermen that are using a very sustainable way to fish this kind of fish that was tuna, the red one tuna, that was in danger a few years before. And so I started to work a lot with the sea, there myself doing images, video images, underwater in Sardinia. And then I started to think in a project that was more complex compared to the ones that I did until that moment. So, and I reached the consensus now that maybe it's time to try to entrust photographic images with the task of activating a process of awareness, not only of what the image show, but also of the process that the image is activated in us. Today, images have the task of creating paths of meaning, questions, the task of opening up new possible understandings of the complexity of reality. Now it's time, sorry. What photography makes available to us today is more complex than it was in the past. That's I already said. When describing truth in documentary, Werner Herzog, a filmmaker who frequently works within the poetic and reflexive mode, says, "There are deeper straits of truth in cinema, and there is such a thing as a poetic, ecstatic truth. It is mysterious and elusive and can only be reached through fabrication and imagination and stylization." So now I would like to introduce the project that is partially shown here in the festival, that is related to the sea, of course, and this have the aim, have the ambition to start a new kind of approach, personal approach to photography. The project is called Mare Omnis here, and it's a project that aims to investigate humans' influence on the sea through an articulate and complex photographic language. Since man stopped looking to the sea for protein alone and began to see the sea as a source of profit, the balance that allowed the human community to feed itself for millennia has been broken. Mare Omnis refers to a time when the sea was thriving with life and was still inhabited by plenty of fish. The photos are meant to evoke a bygone time when men used to go out at sea, oblivious the forthcoming tragedy, the collapse of fish stocks. Those who still practice sustainable fishing today should be considered at least the last witness of a possible symbiotic relationship with the sea and its life. The last witness with the knowledge that, once forgotten, can no longer be passed down to future generations. Life in the sea was abundant and seemed to have no end. Many knew how not to overindulge in getting the food necessary for survival. The element of water here, the sea, is represented by thinking of the liquid in which we all originated. An analogy with the image generated by the ultrasound of a baby that is in the womb of the mother. The language I chosen to use proceed by visual metaphors. The fishing nets and their bright dots on the black surface of the sea are meant to suggest other images. Many times we are deceived by the primordial images within us. The constellation of the night sky here are evoked to suggest distance and the mystery of the universe. From the sea and the energy of sunlight, life was generated in the distant past. So even this diptych is emancipated from the pure referential appearance of reality. The juxtaposition of the forms of what is visible can suggest a second degree of meaning. The female and the masculine are here evoked as a symbol of fertility and regeneration of life. I felt the need to emphasize how the relationship between man and the sea in the past has been characterized by a sacred vision of this element, and moreover, how man's lives depends on it living along the coast. The sea creatures, now so familiar, were seen as mysterious entitled from other worlds, and the deep sea was world unknown to us. Poetry is the code through which humans can confront a purer idea of truth, no less enigmatic for that, where language shows its inability to touch what it describes. Now, I would like to show you one experimental movie, that is 18 minutes movie, on the same theme, but with another language, the cinematographic ones. Enjoy your vision. thank you for the attention. It was a little bit long, but longer than previously scheduled. But again, thank you for everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Francesco Zizola. He's a man who manages to make his